those numbers off top. I think he averaged 15-9, 16-8 or something along those lines. But, you know, whenever we need a bucket, he's going to be the guy that we have to throw the basketball to. Rightfully so. He's proven that he's a tough matchup, not only in the MEAC, but just in all cylinders of Division I. And he had a great summer. He's improved his body, improved his conditioning, and now we just got to get a 40-minute production game out of him this year instead of 31, 32. So him, and obviously our point guard play has to be better. Jordan Perkins, you know, he has to be better. We're staying on him, and you know, I challenge him, and I always tell him the real facts, and that's always uncomfortable sometimes as a coach, because in the midst of the celebration of championship rings, you know, it can get lost that, you know, you didn't necessarily do everything you needed to do last year. And I told him oftentimes last year I had to bring another point guard in games to finish basketball games with him, and I don't want that to happen this year. I said, regardless of the fact that we have these championship rings, the truth is, as a point guard, you only won one true road game for me last year. I know that hurts. I know that don't sound good, but you know, you came to Midnight Madness with gold teeth in your mouth, so I guess it was rightfully, it was my rightful place at that particular time to tell you. And he has to accept that as a young man and accept that challenge. So definitely Jordan and Rashawn Davis.
As a team-building exercise, you took the team to D.C. to the African American Museum. What was that experience like, and what were some things that you wanted to take away from that?
Ooh, that was mind-blowing, honestly. I didn't really, I've heard about it, obviously through Ninth Wonder, and you know, his exhibit is up there. He kept telling me, you need to go, 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 go. And he arranged for that to happen, because I think we called and they were like a year waiting list. So shout out to Ninth for the plug. But once we got in there, it was amazing. Honestly, we can't do the entire tour or the entire exhibit in one day. And just beginning on the first floor and realizing all the lies that's been told in the public school system to these young men. They don't have any knowledge of self, and when you don't have knowledge of self, it's really difficult to appreciate who you are, where you come from, and where you're going in that particular case. And they started learning about themselves and their ancestors and the paradox of the country that we live in. And I thought it was, you know, truth builds trust. I always say that, and I thought it was extremely motivating for those young men. And they were questioning me this week. They want to go back just to catch the second and the third floor, because we saw everything, but we tried to kind of rush it through because we were there for 6 hours. But I encourage anyone, you know, to go, and it was an excellent team building format for us.
What are your thoughts on the G League and its effects on the black player, being that elite will most likely be a black athlete?
I don't like it. You know, I don't know why they're making, you know, all of these modifications to a kid. Look, it's very simple, man. If the kid is 18 and you want to go pro, let him go pro. He can go fight in the war, so what's the big deal? They don't make any of these modifications when they come to the war. If they draft you, you got to go, right? They don't send you to a G League of war, right? So the same thing in basketball and in these sports. If a kid is ready, just let him go. That's the liberty that we have in this country, to make a freedom of choice. At 18, he's considered an adult, and if he's good enough, then let him go. I don't think $125,000 is satisfying to, I'm not allowed to mention recruits right now, but if the kid was LeVelle Moton Jr. and he was projected to be a #1 draft choice, I don't know if it's beneficial for him to go to the G League or go to North Carolina Central. If he goes to the G League, the truth of the matter, he's playing against guys that's 24 years old, maybe 25, some 26. So he's going to be playing against grown men. And just because they dangle a carrot in the form of $125,000 at him, that don't make it right. Give him that opportunity to be drafted by an NBA team that probably want to take a chance and or in a position to be able to mold and groom a young player. But you see the injuries in this game and how they can occur. So if you can make yourself an instant millionaire and you have that ability, I'm all for that. I don't believe in holding anyone back, because I don't want anyone holding me back from the decisions that I want to make.
Coach, even though piggybacking off of Jonas, they won't play you, these ACC schools are not afraid to give you your praises, especially at Media Day. They sung your name and how well you've done with the program. How does that feel to have that recognition, and especially the relationships that you've curated with people like Coach Williams and Coach Cleats and Coach K?
You know, it's a beautiful thing. I think the one thing I've always wanted was to be respected by the people that I respected. And, you know, I'm blessed, I'm fortunate because I was kind of like, I looked at it as if I was a new startup business in town. And 5 miles away, I had Warren Buffett. And 10 miles away, I had Bill Gates. I would be the fool to not reach out to those guys and say, how did you get these companies off the ground the way that you did? And they've been incredible in terms of helping me, devoting their time and attention and showing reverence to me. And they didn't have to do that. Like, they're Hall of Famers. They don't have to do that. And I'm grateful and appreciative for it. And I'm proud to call them friends. We've developed some great friendships. We have some candid conversations. They're both humorous guys. I'm sure y'all interviewed them. And, you know, we talk often, and they treat my family as if they're one of their own, and I always ultimately appreciate that, man. So I'm just honored to be surrounded by legends such as Kay and Roy Williams, and I have one in Coach Keys that's on the way, doing wonderful things at NC State. Okay, I think, you know, the new rule with the G League, I think it affects the black athlete and his family in a multitude of ways. Number one, a lot of these kids that's playing this game, make no mistake about it, they're coming from situations where they are in need of financial assistance. And a lot of times, they have an opportunity to fulfill a dream, and not only for themselves, but just their family overall. And the amount of money that they're gonna make could lead to generational wealth for their family. So if they're not allowed to have that opportunity, then it affects their kids, grandkids' pockets. And that's why I don't feel like it's really a great idea, because $125,000, that's not gonna go a long way in the heat of battle. I would rather you go to college and get that experience and still enter the draft scotch-free, and, you know, hopefully be positioned in the draft where you can go earn your keep.
Now this ripples into, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but just should athletes be getting paid? And if you do pay them, Coach Hand was discussing, you know, how do you even scale how to pay an athlete? Because, of course, a tennis player is not going to make the same amount as a basketball player.
They can figure it out. But I think, you know, we try to complicate this thing, and I think what happens is, first of all, this is not your grandfather's NCAA no more. This is not amateur athletic, nothing. This is a bunch of semi-pros, right? When you look at the money that's generated from the NCAA and them being the quote-unquote 501 nonprofit, I think they made $6 billion last year. So they're smart enough to get together and allocate those funds appropriately, because the truth of the matter is, you ride in the backs of these athletes that really need to be compensated. And they don't need to be compensated through a Pell Grant. They don't need to be compensated through a scholarship. They need to be compensated, rightfully so, as getting a certain percentage of whatever's coming in. So the one thing people want to say is there's not enough money, or how would we do this, or Title IX. I think they're just throwing a bunch of smoke bombs to not have to go to the table and sit down. They're grown professional men with degrees from all of these prestigious universities across the country. They can sit down and decipher how to give some funds that's needed in these households to a quarterback at North Carolina Central, to a tennis player at LSU, to a hockey player at Michigan, and to a wide receiver at Florida State.
Now, as a coach, how do you make your players feel the same amount of pride playing for HBCU as other players playing for these big PWIs? I know a lot of times there's an evil in comparison. So how do you make sure they know their worth as a basketball player despite maybe what other people see?
Yeah, I think they understand their worth prior to coming in, because the truth of the matter, the game is so global now that they've either played with or competed against, you know, these guys that's quote-unquote global stars or the next one up. And 9 times out of 10, they held their own. It's just a matter of supply and demand, you know, when it comes to scholarships. Just because you didn't go to Michigan State or a Power 5 school doesn't mean you're not capable of playing the game. And if anything, I think that creates expectation for our guys and gives them another sense of competitiveness to go out there and prove themselves. So it comes along with the pride, because at the end of the day, the male testosterone and the ego just will not allow you to believe that another man is better than you, and I'm all for that.